ever tell you how that bread turned out that they made?
No, I forgot to ask. I think homemade bread is one of the lost amazing experiences that God intended for us.
I thought you were going to say art, and I was like, man, no.
One of the lost experiences God intended for us to experience was homemade bread.
Although we're doing it kind of the roundabout way, because what I would love to do is have like a Dutch oven where I'm kneading the dough, working out all that stress and putting it in the thing and then putting it in the stove. But we just, with gift cards, I
need the dough cooked.
We just bought a bread maker with gift cards we got for Christmas. And
That's
you throw it all in there
thing
and
that you just said.
It does it all.
We got a bread maker, but don't worry. Those of you who think we're living the life of luxury and buying
we had a gift card. It was
$100 bread maker. We had gift cards, everybody.
It's the same when somebody says, well, I like your outfit. And I'm like, it was on clearance.
I got it for practically free. No, don't worry.
Found it out in the yard.
It's the same thing like in the Midwest, you got to be careful about driving like a Jaguar, but you can drive like $100,000 truck. That's totally fine. That's
hey, good. Midwestern rules. We don't make them.
It's weird, isn't it?
We just live by them.
Back to bread. I think it's fantastic when it's homemade.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it. Although I need to find a way to make it less crumbly so we can use it for the kids' lunches. I just love knowing instead of the 30 ingredients that like a loaf of bread at a store has, there are 5 things that go into it. And I got to put them into the bread maker.
Speaking of Little House on the Prairie and churning butter, welcome to Off the Fence.
I need to find a picture of me when I first went to college because I looked like Laura Ingalls Wilder in my denim dress.
Katy read an article.
I did, guys. I read articles.
Listen to this. The demise of childhood, how modern media is killing what it means to be a kid. I don't know if that.
And I don't normally. So you're telling everybody this. I read this stuff. And I don't share it with everybody I know because I understand that you need to temper it.
I mean, why is Katy in a bad mood today? Because she's reading articles that talk about how modern media is killing what it means to be a kid.
Because these are strong opinions that I know have to be like, you got to hold all of the pieces to get the full picture. So I'm not sending them to everybody on my phone list. I'm only sending it to you to go, this is a bummer. What I love, can I just tell you, I'm going to do what I do with every book I read and go to the last chapter first. Hold on. Because what I loved about it was the conclusion of the article, we're not talking about it right now, was where do we go from here? Because give me all the terrifying facts, but then help inform me about what I can do to do something about it. That's all. Sure. And that's why I loved the article. But if you just take it at its face value, there's literally fire in the picture that they used. Ha ha.
It's like as if the title didn't do it enough justice. Here's the world burning.
Right. Anyway.
So think about your own childhood.
Can I just tell you
what did it mean to be a kid? Like just in your own head right now.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about this the other day. Can I just tell you though that this I think it's important. This article, this newspaper is from a high school. These are like high schoolers writing, and that's what I loved about it, was that it got shared with me. But anyway, I think it's important. It's students writing and gathering information just to help. My childhood was amazing. I grew up in an era, we were just talking about this, where both of my parents worked outside of the home. They were an hour in opposite directions from our home. Like one went to Topeka, one went to Leavenworth. And worked full-time jobs, did incredible stuff.
Wait, was one of them in the Leavenworth prison? Is that what you're...
No, man, my mom would make a great prison guard, though.
She would.
Because she's really kind and sweet, but also, don't take nothing. That's funny because she would never talk like that. We grew up I grew up in a house, but out in the country. I had a rural upbringing. So we were close to Kansas City and other big towns, but had a giant pond on our property, had animals everywhere, had a lot of outside chores. And I would say lots of responsibility because my parents both worked. We were in that kind of, what's it called?
Latchkey?
Latchkey. Every time I think it, my brain's like, that's not what it is. Okay, latchkey. Where we're often leaving the house to catch the bus, after our parents have left for work,
Okay.
and returning home before my parents got home from work.
Okay.
So homework, chores, starting dinner, that was just part of our family's, like as we got older, that was part of our responsibility. But gobs of opportunity to play outside. We only had like 2 stations on our TV anyway, 2 channels, no cable, and no computers when we were growing up. So lots and lots of time outside exploring. My dad and I built a basketball hoop from like recycled wood in our barn. So just lots and lots of time outside. We had a creek that ran by our house. We had friends that had farms and ranches and stuff. So just it was a lot of fun and a lot of exploring. I was telling you the other day too, because my parents didn't go, yeah, just go do whatever you want. Like we liked going for long walks, like just us friends and exploring and stuff. So my dad, I remember, would take us on the route that we wanted to go. He'd walk it with us a few times, and then we'd get to walk it on our own. Because it's miles. So it wasn't just completely like, hey, see ya. Hope tonight at dinner. Thank you. Because there were no cell phones or anything either. So
No.
What about you? You rode your bike everywhere like a crazy person. So, I mean, like a kid in traffic. Like you grew up in Topeka, right? Most of your...
Yeah, Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, so much traffic.
When I think of childhood, like the joys and the fun of childhood, it was outside, usually with neighborhood kids. Riding my bike everywhere throughout and just neighborhoods, exploring where I would discover where to go by going there and figuring out how to get back from wherever I went.
Yeah, that scares me a little because Topeka...
there was no map. You
right.
just remember it. You have to remember it. And the next day you rode your bike to the similar area and you went a little bit further and just wandered and climbed giant trees, fell out of trees.
See, I watched Pollyanna as a kid, so I never climbed trees.
There was a playground behind us because we lived basically on the church property, and there was a daycare there and all that. So meeting up with people in the playground and just playing, and you just knew, mom or dad would come and you needed to either be in shouting distance of them or be home before dark kind of thinking. And so that's how you managed your time that way. Or, hey, I'm going to so-and-so's house. I'm gonna ride my bike over there. But exploring, imagination, lots of imagination things.
We grew up too before the era of like DVR or just being able to, on your own time, pick whatever you wanted to watch from like having this encyclopedia of TV. And so like I remember on Friday nights, I was never at exploring because TGIF came on I think ABC, and then Saturday morning Saved by the Bell was on.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time I don't remember, like there wasn't a lot to do with TV, and game systems were really expensive and stuff too. Like it was just a whole different world.
So our childhood, what we remember about childhood, do you think our kids would say the same things?
I don't think they would say the same things. Yeah. I think though they talk about, like when we go visit my folks on their farm, they talk about doing the same things I got to do when I was a kid when they spend a week there.
Yeah.
Because my dad, they've got like riding lawnmowers and different things that they can drive and play on. And I would say that was the highlight of now I was mowing the grass, riding lawnmowers. My kids, the blades are off and they just take it and go. But I think they have those similar experiences. I would say day to day, it looks a little different, specifically for us because we live in town. We don't live out like where I used to live. And no, I think their world is a little smaller in that way.
So what'd you learn about childhood in this article that has a picture of
stuff burning
down?
I think, and written from the perspective by and for high school students, it was fascinating to me that it was just talking about the difference in it and not blaming the kids, but walking through how the world is just different.
Sure.
The accessibility to stuff. Actually, what drew my attention to it is because we don't watch, like I think Bo likes Coco Melon and like stuff like that. But our kids have never really locked on to like Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or anything. Like they've just never been like, I got to watch that or whatever. But what drew my attention was it was talking about how Disney Channel saw a 33% drop in viewership. Nickelodeon lost nearly 60% of its audience since 2010, and Cartoon Network saw a negative 26 in 2021 viewership. Now that could be a lot of reasons. Some of it is because, again, you can just turn on your TV and click on whatever you want to watch at any time. It's on demand. There's not like you have to wait for a show. But one of the things the article was contending, though, is for a long time, I think throughout history, childhood by adults is something that like is almost frowned upon or like, ugh. Think about the last time you rode on a plane and the person that sat next to you or in front of you or behind you had a baby.
Yeah.
You probably don't get super excited about it. But talking about this generational discussion about like people want to not have childhood be like close to them. Everybody's trying to get out of it. And this article is contending that maybe some of that viewership drop is actually because kids are becoming older sooner. And so like even it was talking about the shop Justice.
Yeah.
And we didn't really shop there a lot because by the time it's for girls and it was sparkly and pink and amazing. But actually during the era that Ellie would have been shopping there, everything just seemed really short. And so we just didn't shop there. But talking about even how stores like that have come out because girls in that age group now are often actually going for the Lululemon and the yoga pants. They're wanting to look like their moms and their older sisters. They're not wanting to wear unicorns and stuff. So it was kind of the demise of childhood, but really talking about the lost art of childhood. Like what does it mean to explore and enjoy and create instead of rushing ahead? And I would contend too that this isn't necessarily kids pushing that. I think a lot of it is this annoyance or whatever, where you feel like people don't want kids are a nuisance almost. And so this acceleration of growing up, and that's what really caught my attention for this as we just process, even for our own kids, how do we not hide them or shelter them from the realities of the world, but how do we invite them during these crucial years to get to play and enjoy? Because I think the heart of God even is that life is spent with joy and purpose and creativity and fun and play. Those things don't necessarily have to stop when you turn 18.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, the acceleration of those just becoming less happens faster.
Well, I think I've told people before that our culture, each generation really values, almost has virtues that they've chosen or that become just really put on the forefront. Like this is important. And I think our culture in particular really values information and really values safety, partially because I think they're connected.
Yeah.
And to where we have so much information, we can access something that happens today, a crime that happens today somewhere in Germany. We can hear about it. But what our brains do with it is that means that crime is now possible in my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's just, we're like, oh, that happened there. I guess it can. And that sometimes I think that's in the articles go, this could happen in your area soon too. And this is happening in our neighborhood. The danger of that is because we value safety so much, we've begun to parent differently, but also just communicate what kids are hearing is that safety is priority. You get safe by getting information. So we are constantly berated with information. And I think it's robbing childhood, so what's the danger of robbing childhood? Like, grow up, mature faster. I don't think we are. I think we're have a whole crew growing up. They're scared.
They're not only scared, but there's, I would say, a place where childhood was interrupted. And sometimes that's trauma. I think we're talking more about grow up. pull you out of those fun things and the child-centric things and just move forward. You almost then have a bunch of adults walking around that are still stuck.
Sure.
Because they weren't able to fully experience what they could have or should have. So then we've got a lot of 30 and 40-year-olds walking around needing those things. That's actually one of my favorite things to do with the kids, especially during the winter, is to get like Play-Doh, or they always get kinetic sand for Christmas or Play-Doh or something. That's one of my favorite things to do with them because I love it. It's so cathartic for me and it's fun to just create, or Legos or something. But then to just sit and let them create and do that, it's a lost art for sure. But I think we have to reconnect with it too.
Sure. So I think what's a spiritual lesson? It makes me think about Jesus with his disciples, who they've been pulled away from their families. They willingly did this, but they've left their families. According to like history, they would be young, not like 10 years old young, but they would be like not the 30 or 40 or 50-year-old kind of like experience with life. They would have been younger. And Jesus begins to even deploy them and say, hey, I want you to go do this for a little bit. And even warns them, they're going to reject you, which means they're going to have to deal socially with some stuff. You're going to go to environments, towns that maybe they're unfamiliar with. Jesus is putting people in situations that lacked guaranteed safety, full of unfamiliarity. They're also in an environment where Rome is oppressing them. So at any moment, a Roman someone could do, there's just so much risk. And Jesus didn't seem to be limited by that. And I'm thinking, well, is that just contextual, or what do I do? Like, he would let these guys, I mean, okay, he calls them into this, and eventually the majority of them are martyred. Again, not safe. So I don't think the answer is, so tell your kids to go play in the middle of the road.
Do whatever, yeah.
But one of the trainers at my gym is also a counselor, and she posted a video that I thought was really profound because so nowadays, and I bet some people are listening right now going, see, look what social media and cell phones have done to our kids. It's screwing their lives up. One, I agree. Like the cell phone, like social media and all that kind of stuff is bad.
Well, access to all of that early, like before brains are fully developed, it's hard on us. Like studies show that social media and cell phones are not good for adults even. Sure.
So I agree. But what they're now also learning, rather than putting just the scapegoat on both of those, is what they have learned is the lack of allowing children, in particular in this case study, without not letting them have autonomy, having some ability to play independently, appears to be robbing their ability to make decisions, robbing their imagination time, robbing their sense of when you're doing something independently of others, you're learning to make choices, you're learning to make mistakes, you're learning to figure things out. That because we're hovering and constantly interjecting, oh, don't do it that way, yeah, you do it this way. Or oh, hey, run away from that. Like in this constant keeping them safe, but also maximizing everything that they're doing. They're not learning with their brains to make life-giving decisions. So it really like, what's a spiritual principle that Jesus was actually maybe trying to teach us? That allowing people to make decisions that are messy and not fatal, but messy, and they could actually fail at this. Could that be a spiritual lesson that Jesus wishes we had learned or would be teaching and learning right now? The where do I go from here? Maybe, and I'm not saying just tell your kids, hey, we're leaving for the weekend. It's all up to you to survive while we're gone.
Good luck. Yeah.
But
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And some of it too is what we've learned is because we've got a kid in college now, we've got a kid in high school, while they're under our roof, Lord, how can we start handing over responsibility? Even Bo, our 4-year-old, almost 5, has chores. And some of that is imparting this, we're all on a team. We're all doing this. But even when Hayden started driving, and he would go like a mile away to run an errand at Walmart.
Yeah.
Or he would go to the gas station and fill up my car, whatever. But like within our realm. But I think some of that too is we come from a generation specifically that did a lot of that play and we had a lot of freedom. But then we've turned and we've become kind of what I would call like, I'm trying to find a nice way to say it, like the prison guard parents, because we grew up toggling both eras, pre-computer and social media and now post. And so a lot of it is even, are we letting ourselves play? Like, are we modeling for our kids? Let's go outside and play basketball, or like my dad did. And I never thought about the significance of that, but where he took time to walk us on the track to go, this is the boundary, this trail, like this is what I'm charting for you. You can only go this way. And then come straight home or whatever. Some of that too is us modeling. I know one of the things we don't do at our house is turn on the news full blast while our kids are all around, because we don't want Bo to hear all the things going on in the world at this point. That's not something that he needs to be holding. I think some of it too is how can we as parents create opportunities for them to have freedom within boundaries, but and even get ourselves accustomed to enjoying that and having fun with that again.
Well, here's what this is so frustrating to have to be reminded of this, but I've had multiple people in my life remind me that even though I'm 45, what am I risking right now? What danger am I actually in? To not that you become an adrenaline junkie.
Thank you for not doing that.
But I think there's something built in us that should be making the decisions and feeling the consequences and letting our brains figure stuff out. That risk and danger and all that is designed to actually create. So Jesus sends his disciples out into dangerous, figure it out. He even tells them, hey, don't take this with you, don't take this with you, and have people help supply you with what you need. What if we as adults did this? And I've noticed this with our kids when I'm working out. They like to now hear, man, I pushed it really hard today with the weights. And I'm interested that they're interested in this. I want them to know, push yourself. And there's a difference. I think we accidentally pitch to our kids and we pitch to ourselves, I just need to survive. And you get on the fence extremely quickly if you think your role right now is just survive. In fact, that almost becomes a cop-out nowadays. How you doing? You know what? I'm just trying to survive this. I'm just trying to, just get through this.
I think if people were honest, that's what the answer would normally be.
To where maybe some good advice today is go get a stinking hobby. Like that's fun, but even challenging. Yeah. What do you need to learn today that you don't know about? Like, how do you need to stretch your brain, your body, all those kinds of things?
Well, I think that brings up something that was noted in this article, but also I think something we've experienced. You can so easily go on autopilot. You're listening to the news. You're watching the world around you. You're afraid you want to keep your kids safe. And the kids always, one of the things that they often say is, why do we have this rule? Or why can't I do that or whatever? And one of the things we talk about is the Lord entrusted us with you, and we are your caretakers. And so some rules that you don't like, you can't start fires in the house or whatever. Whatever. You can't jump off that cliff into the water when you're 5. I think some of that is really good, but a lot of it too is just paying attention to the day-to-day stuff. And I'm going on a complete tangent, but I think that a lot of it, we go on autopilot. So we sit home at night and we're watching TV or whatever it is. What the Lord is teaching me through our younger kids, especially because I'm older now and I've seen more of the world, is to not forget to play, to really don't just sit and go on autopilot, but lean into the stuff and never stop being willing to do, not only challenging yourself and learning new things, but don't forget to rest and play and have fun, because that is what brings that. Now, I would say my parents didn't play a lot with us. They let us kids just go and run. But I think we're in a new time and a different time, and we may need to teach them how to do it because it's not happening all over the place.
We may
Even
need to teach
recess is pulled
ourselves.
back at school. Right. But what a gift that the Lord's giving us too, to remember to do that for ourselves too.
So here's the lesson I think with this podcast. I think a good practical thing to do with this, and maybe do it with your family, your best friends, your small group, your kids. I don't know. What if you just listed an adventure that you want to do this year, something or a topic you want to learn more about, and make the list. And maybe the first year is kind of weak, where you're like, you know what? Here's the big risk I'm going to take this year. I don't know.
I'm going to get real sugar in my coffee.
Sure, I know, whatever. But maybe year after year, if you begin to say, what's the adventure this year? What's the risk I'm going to take this year? What's the adventure I'm going to go on? What's the challenge I'm going to put in front of myself? Or as a family, are we going to do this 5K? Are we going to do this hike? Whatever. What you're doing, according to science nowadays, is you're addressing a mental health crisis that goes on in every home nowadays. And they say the mental health crisis isn't just linked to your phone and social media and things like that. It's linked to you are not challenging yourself enough and much that your brain needs you to go to have some fun adventure, things like that. So this podcast is your challenge. Make your adventure list, not your bucket list, your adventure list, and choose something this year.
Yeah.
What's one of your most favorite adventures of your life?
Oh man.
Other than being married to me.
It is an adventure. Probably a couple things, but I went to Washington, D.C. So I was a kid that my parents would say, go play, go have fun. And I was like the 100-year-old lady that was like, it's dangerous out there. I don't know if I want to. And my parents would have to push me, like, go play and have fun. And I had friends that were very adventurous, so it worked out fine. But I would say my sophomore year and my senior year, I went to Washington, D.C. to stay with my grandparents for a few weeks in the summer with my brother. And that was not like me. I never left my parents, like, ever. I never wanted to do that. And we explored the city and got to do a lot of it on our own. Like my grandma would be like, hey, go have fun, go to whatever museums you want to go to, and then we'll meet back up, because everybody wanted to go somewhere different. And that was actually the most exciting one, because I knew what I was doing. And I would say that because I just pushed myself so much. And actually one of them has been recent. On a recent trip to California, I drove all over the place.
Yeah, you did.
And like the whole time was like, who's this old lady? Because I was so proud of myself. But I think too, just even going to college, I went to a different college than my whole family had went to. And I can't even describe to you what was going through my brain, but I just did it.
I think this is an example that most of us, some of the biggest, most profound growth times in our lives, where our minds got healthy, we were doing the right thing, we were where God wanted us to be, was in the risky, unknown, uncertain, let's go figure this out. And I think our world is slowly losing this to where, I haven't done a study of this, are we huddling where it feels safe? Are we staying in proximity to the most predictable worlds that we can create? And are we robbing ourselves of this of mental health? Are we robbing ourselves
but
of
also
what God
innovation?
wants?
Because I think that when we do that, then we start listening to what the people that are taking risks are saying to us. And is that even what's real and true? So we end up risking more by staying right there.
Cool. Well, make your list, people. Make your list. Until next time, may you have a wonderful, wonderful season of life of risk and uncertainty.
And play.
Sure, that too.
Fun stuff.
All right. We love you very much. Bye.
Bye.